Okay, we are now live on Facebook, Aimie Mallon. Okay, so for those, anyway, for those who've been patient enough to wait for us, uh, huge thanks. I am here with the inspirational Aimie Mallon of Laboom. Just before we get into the conversation, so why are we here? I guess, like, so my business is Inspo, and Inspo is all about inspiring and motivating people to make good choices. And in this time, one of the big goals of for me with Inspo is to inspire people to have just conversations about the last couple of months of lockdown, how that experience was, good, bad, or indifferent, because we've never been here before. So I think it's just good to have a chat about it. Similarly, as we move forward into this, what we call new normal, just kind of to chat about like our hopes for that, and equally our fears or apprehensions. And so I've been trying to just reach out to the people who I just regard as cool people in the public domain. And it's amazing how sound, this is what I'm learning about people like, you know, who are plying their trade in front of a lot of us who go and watch them in what they do, and how sound people are. And Aimie is exactly that, and how open she was to have a chat with me. So Aimie, thank you so much for taking the time.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, sure. Listen, I guess I should so I should maybe give a bit of context as like the first time I would have come across Aimie Mallon Laboom. I think it was Electric Picnic going back a few years, right? And it was like late enough. It was like 11, half 11, and myself and my sister were walking past one of the tents, and honestly, it was like the roof was being lifted off the tent. And so we said we'd go in, like, and we just got down to the back, and it was heaving in there. And like, lo and behold, I'm looking, and it's yourself and Chris up on stage, and you're just giving it socks as you do so well. And I was just like, who are these people? And like, how is this energy so class? So look, lo and behold, then I kind of sort of saw you a few times later, and just have, you know, followed the trajectory of your success and enjoyed every bit of it up until, you know, including the Olympia last October. At one stage, you were coming off the stage in the Grand Social with like one of the hard working class hero gig, and you were so sound. You were like chatting away, like, and you know, I was like, this is so cool, like, and you were just like, awesome, man. And then I was like, come here, any chance of a selfie? And you were like, oh, no, you weren't. Sorry, you weren't like that at all. You were just like, yeah, of course, like. And I was so happy with myself, Aimie. Like the self, this is like, I told you I'd be a little bit like a fan. I'd morph into fan. This is it. It's happening. But can I show you the photo?
Oh God!
Is that a yes or?
Go on.
Is that a yes or a no?
Go on, yeah.
Okay, sweet. Just like, because it was like, this is so nerdy. It was my screensaver for like around 6-9 months. Can you see it?
Oh, I do see it.
I was so just to let you know, that face there, that's me like going, how is this even happening face? That's my like, I can't believe this is happening face. Whereas I'm guessing that face, your face is like, oh, for God's sake, like the things I have to do for Laboom.
No.
No, you were actually very sound. No, you were so sound. So anyway, look, that's just like, before we get into just the experience of like new norm or like lockdown and how it was for you and new normal, just the one thing I do want to ask, and we might touch on it again towards the end, is you have unbelievable energy on stage. Do you know, like, it's a real kind of like, I'm kind of addicted to two things. I'm addicted to sea swimming, and I'm addicted to watching people doing something that they appear to love, because I just think it's a very cool thing to watch. So where and what drives that energy that you like bring when you're up there?
I suppose when I'm actually playing the shows, it feels like it's not even me almost playing. It's like I spent years practicing away at drums and being in a few different bands and stuff, and then met Christy, and then we'd be playing the shows, and it's almost like I'm able to forget about it being me playing it, and that it's just like flowing. And it just, before the gigs, I usually get a little bit nervous about how I'm actually going to get to that level of energy again. But then the second it starts, it's sort of like something else like takes control. Sort of, it's like the energy is what is doing it with the crowd rather than it being me, and I'm just aware of what's going on and just enjoying it. So it's a really weird, it's almost like a spiritual experience when I'm playing gigs, that it just feels like, yeah, it just feels like something bigger is just flowing through you rather than it being you thinking about, I'm going to get energetic now.
Yeah. Which is like, I don't know, like it almost feels like, it just feels like it's like the highest sense of it's like the highest sense of performing, like where something else, something bigger than you is driving you on. Like, how much did you know that was going to happen? Or how much is it something that surprised you?
Yeah, something that surprises me. Because there's been periods where I've been really fit before playing shows, and then there would be periods where I'd just be like boozing and I'd be really unfit, and then I come off the stage, I'm absolutely in bits because I'm like physically not able, but then it's just the adrenaline, I suppose, that keeps you going.
Do you know, I think it's so, the reason why I do want to talk to you about this is because like this something bigger piece is kind of really cool that you said, like, you know, there's almost something bigger, you know, happening. Because I think one of the things that I wanted to chat to you about in terms of this last 3 months is I think plenty of people have got time to think, and maybe also to reflect on, like, you know, what they're doing with their time.
Yeah.
Their working time, their non-working time. And it maybe looks at them kind of going, like, you know, in terms of having purpose or getting, you know, a real kick or a sense of meaning from what they do. Like, how much do you get like that sense of kind of meaning or sense of like, this is like, I am really kind of, this is me at my sweet spot. This is me doing something I'm meant to do. How much does that land for you when you're the Olympia, the Button Factory, where you're, you know, where you're at festivals?
Yeah, I suppose I'm just so grateful that I've been given the opportunity, because myself and Christy are totally aware of the fact that, you know, hundreds of musicians in Ireland that are like, if not better musicians and really capable of playing shows like that it's really like you're at the right place at the right time and things just seem to fall into place, and then all of a sudden you're playing the Olympia and it just feels like a dream or something. And when I look back at the shows, like even the odd video and stuff, that you sort of feel like, I don't even know, like, how was that me or something? I don't know. It doesn't feel like it was real. So I'm just like totally grateful that I've been given those chances. And I think it really does, I suppose it gives you a sense of how you can feel in life, in that like sort of a high. But over the lockdown, I've done, like you were saying, a lot of sort of reflecting on things and just giving myself that time. And like before this year, I haven't played a gig, I haven't played any shows now since November, because we were taking a break anyway this year. So it actually worked out pretty okay that we're not missing out on anything. But we were meant to take a break this year, so I knew I wasn't going to be gigging this year. And it's the first time in about 10 years now I haven't been playing gigs continuously. And it's just given me a lot of time to think, because when I was gigging, I felt like the only time that my life had meaning or purpose was I was on that stage for, say, that hour or 20 minutes, half an hour. And then the rest was all just like trying to get to that hour, or trying to get to not feeling as alive when I wasn't off stage. Like almost when you come off like a tour, having like a come down almost after it, just feeling like, Jesus, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, so the last few months has been sort of figuring out how to try and make myself feel as alive when I'm off the stage as well. So
how has that been, Aimie?
well, it's actually gas, because I'm after getting into Buddhism in the last few months.
Okay. You're saying that with almost like a sound of surprise in your own voice.
Yeah, because I was really like skeptical and sort of, I suppose, very, like religion and stuff like that has a bad rep in Ireland now, and I feel even with spirituality and things being maybe, I suppose, a little bit more deep and stuff, I was almost not, like, sort of too close-minded to let it in. And I got into meditation a couple of years ago, and then from there got into Buddhism. But I think it's since I've started Buddhism, I've really started to like appreciate like everyday experiences. I'm trying to get like the high I get off gigging from just going for a walk, or like, you know, having a bowl of porridge with some raspberries in it or something.
Good combo.
It's a good combo.
But do you know what's interesting? So what I'm really interested in is, you said you were kind of closed-minded to it at a certain point. What changed in you or around you to allow yourself open up to the possibility that Buddhism might be something that you'd even consider, let alone, you know, kind of actively explore?
Yeah, I suppose I was probably nervous about maybe too caught up in my own identity of what people might have thought of me. Maybe if I was like, because I suppose a lot of my friends don't really know, because sure, I haven't really been
in touch,
seeing too many, like I've been in touch, but I'd be like, you'd be talking about like
what's going on,
sort of what's going on really, or I suppose I haven't really told many people anyway, because you're like, in Ireland it's all very, you're either Catholic or you're not wanting to be religious. So I suppose I was just maybe caught up in how I thought other people might think of me, and now I'm just like, you know what, if it works, it works.
Class. Which is a lovely, you know, a lovely place to be, like, you know, particularly given the whatever religious kind of background or not that you come from, or whatever, any other type of way in which one can be viewed. But the one I wanted to ask is, how do you I think that's a lovely way to live life. Like, you know, that you can kind of go, look, well, this is what I'm interested in. How it could be perceived by other people, like, is what other people's business to do. You know, in the world, look, for me growing up, it was peer pressure, right? That was kind of a lot of it. Like now, like, I feel blessed though that I grew up in a world that was like, I was a teenager and even early 20s before social media really launched into full whack. Like now you have to kind of form your identity and grow up with the pressures of not just peers, but also social media. What's allowing you to kind of switch off from what any one of those groups might think, just to allow you flow and to explore?
I'd say it's the fact as well that, like, I'm not gigging, so usually when you're gigging, everything has to be promoted, and you're constantly like selling yourself as a brand. You're on Instagram and you have to, like, me and Chrissy were like chilling out and be like, oh geez, we better do a story, because we know it has to be, because the two of us are quite like private generally. But then when we are on tour, we have to consciously remember to try and plug whatever sort of personal experiences we're having in order for to be content, because people connect through Instagram and Facebook, and they don't just want to know the music, they want to know the personality behind it. So I think having the space away from all of that has like really helped me just detach myself from being Aimie Mallon Laboon. I've been able to just be like, right, past all of that, like, I'm just a person and I don't need to even identify myself as like musician or whatever. I can just
Yeah.
Because I found it really difficult to just like try and see myself as somebody that wasn't just like, because I had to also this year figure out a way I was going to make money, because if I'm not gigging, I don't earn any dough, man. So I was like, what am I going to do? And I had like a really weird like couple of months in trying to figure out who I was when I wasn't gigging. So I did some mad like soul searching, and I had like a weird like period of like 2 weeks where I actually like applied for the army.
So this is going to be, I'm just thinking, imagine Aimie Mallon in the army. That would be, listen, who knows? Come here, with the energy that you have, throw you in, do you know what? I throw you in on the front line anyway. I throw you in at the battleground. Throw me in there first.
Yeah, it's gas. Because I was speaking to my partner, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do if I don't have the buzz of playing gigs. I was like, I'm going to need something for adrenaline. I was like totally addicted to like just the high of playing shows. So then after I was like, right, next best thing is probably personal training. So I did a course in personal training there and ended up doing that for a little bit before the lockdown, while sort of writing the album, and well, Christy writing the album, and then me sort of getting new beats together. And then so I've been in a weird like a place where I've been like trying to pull myself away from that identity. And then I think by doing the personal training course and having that as a plan B for when I'm not gigging, it sort of like changed this like Aimie musician thing. So then I was like, oh, here's like another job, but then also here's a new way of life as well. And I think, yeah, it's been cool. It's been a really like freeing process.
That is class. So how, as you move forward, let's say, how do you hold on to this revelation and this understanding of Aimie that's evolved over the last few months, the understanding of yourself, let's say? Like, well, like maybe ask the question, what do you want to hold on to as you continue to move on, knowing that maybe return to the boom or whatever the case may be? So what do you want to hold on to? What do you want to preserve from this last few months?
I think myself and Chris have been speaking recently, and we definitely will be coming back. It's just a matter of like timing with when's the right time to launch an album and then do a tour, because there's not much venues open at the moment. But when that does come back around, I think what I'll carry with me throughout it is just the idea of knowing that things will eventually change, and just not to cling on to the idea of we must succeed. So, and when we are succeeding, that you're sucking the life out of it, trying to hold on to that success rather than just enjoying it, and then knowing someday it will, someday there'll be a new amazing band and we won't be doing the slots we're doing, but that is okay, and just to enjoy it while it lasts. Because I think before it was like so much enjoyment through playing the gigs, but then also a lot of stress, not wanting it to ever change that level of the gigs we were doing. So the next time I'm doing it, I'm just going to enjoy it for what it is. Someday it won't be that, or it might get bigger, we don't know, but just to be okay with change. I think before I wasn't okay with change.
Okay. And like, just maybe, because I think everyone has change has hit everyone in the last 3 months. For me, it hit me in the world of delivering online sessions like this, and you saw me struggling through my Facebook Live setup there, and apologies that we were running late as a consequence to those here. Like, when change is hit, how have you struggled to deal with change? Like, either in lockdown or or particularly lockdown though, because I think we all have in different ways. What struggles have you encountered in terms of managing the change, specifically lockdown?
With lockdown, I suppose a big change was just not being able to see my family. I'm like really close to my mother, and like she means the absolute world to me. And she's like a best friend or something, and it was just strange not being able to see her. I was grand to start, but then towards the end, I was just starting to get a bit, I suppose, just missing her, you know. And then also, I have an awful habit of like telling stories in my head. So I know she's grand because she's like always happy out. But then I'll be in my head going, oh, my poor mother, she's on her own and all this. When in reality, she'd be like, I'm having a great time, you know, just walk in. And so I think for me, yeah, it was missing family, and just being able to be okay with things not being so busy, just learning how to slow down.
Yeah. What was
That
the
change. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all. Sorry, no, I interrupted. Well, one thing I loved is that it seems like that was like an inverse of a mother daughter relationship. I.e., it sounded like you were being very maternal in how you were thinking about your mom, which is lovely, by the way. Really cool. Because I think I would have mentioned last week. I guess I was living up here in Dublin, and my housemate had moved home, and I'd been like 2 weeks living there on my Todd, and I was like, then lockdown officially started, and I was like that evening going, oh geez, I don't know if I could do 3-5 more weeks here on my own. So then for me it was the opposite, and that I had to go home was the right option, and yet I was fierce nervous about like, gosh, myself, mom and dad now, like we only ever spend days together, like this will be weeks. So like that was change, and in fairness, it worked out like we got on very well, and yet there was a nervousness around that, let's say. There was something I wanted to ask you there. Okay, yeah, sorry, this piece of slowing from busy to not busy, let's say, what was difficult around that? Because I think that happened for a lot of us. Well, for you particularly.
I think it was, so I have a really, like the way I usually function is just I have to plan everything to an absolute T. And like my partner's the total opposite, and it's just the two of us here. And she would be like totally chilled out, just going with the flow. She's a photographer, so she'd like, her day would be like real, like, you know, she'd get up and maybe read for a while, go take some photos. And I would be like, okay, I'm going to get up at 7:30, and then I'm going to read for 1 hour, and then half an hour after that I would play drums, and I would specifically do that, and then I would DJ, and it was just like so planned out. My whole life has just been like that for as long as I can remember, really. I'm really like, everything has to be like militant in terms of how I function, and I was exhausted. So over the lockdown, I've just stopped.
How much has Buddhism, how much has meditation play a part in that for you?
Oh, like all of it. Like, to be honest, I don't think I would be where I am now without it. I think it's been like the piece of my life that is like missing in order to get to that place where I feel somewhat complete. It's just so practical. So I like do it with the Dublin Buddhist Centre, and they have like all of their events and courses and drop-in classes and all are all online at the moment, and they're doing it on a donation basis. So you can just, you know, it's like a Zoom call like this, and you know, you could be on a Zoom call with say like 100 people or something, and they'll just teach you different things about Buddhism and meditation, and everybody will meditate together. And then they'll give you like a little home practice. So some of the home practice, you know, for this week, say one of my home practices is just to try, and if I'm speaking to somebody, wait until they've finished their sentences before I speak. And before because I'm from a really like energetic and lively family, we'd all be like talking over each other just to be heard. So it's like really small practical things, or, you know, the doing nothing thing is where I got that idea. It was like, okay, try do nothing for the next 10 minutes for the next week, and then we'll come back and all of us discuss how we actually got on with it. So it's like really, really practical sort of things that you can do that you never think is going to make a difference, but then slowly over time, it really does sort of change your life.
Class. So it's a, you know, I think there's going to be plenty of people who watch this live or on record, Aimie, who will like be somewhat familiar with the concept of meditation, let's say, and let's just say, like, obviously Buddhism is maybe probably one of the origins of it, like it's a source of it, let's say. What would you say to them to try and normalize it, to try and maybe encourage more of them to potentially explore it in the way you have?
I would say that for people that if they want to try and figure out what it is, like in brief, essentially what Buddhism is about is like moving towards enlightenment. So the Buddha was this dude essentially 2,500 years ago that was just like us, born a normal lad, and then he was born into a really like wealthy family, and he just still had that sense of there must be something more to life. I'm just still not happy. Something's holding me back. And it's the same as me, like, you know, have everything I could ever want, play the Olympia, but then something's still not right. And that's usually where people's sort of, I suppose, their path starts is with feeling like there's something missing.
Yeah.
So then he went on this big journey and then eventually came to enlightenment. And what enlightenment is just, it's a state that's free from all sort of negativity. So any negative mental state, you're gone beyond that. And then you're just this continuous person that sort of can spontaneously be compassionate to all beings. And it's just this like deadly state of being. But in Buddhism, people don't see the Buddha as a god. They just see him as like a man that's like inspirational, like a person that you can also be. So like a person that truly experienced life for what it could be like. And that when people, you know, have Buddha statues in their house or whatever, it's not like it's a god, it's more like a reminder of what you can become.
Okay, so one of the things that I'd love to ask you, so is like, as we move on, what hopes do you take with you in terms of, on a personal level first and foremost, and then I might just ask on a more like societal level for people, but first and foremost for Aimie Mallon, what hopes are you carrying with you as we move into like transition into this new normal?
What hopes? I suppose I hope people, well, I hope I anyway, for me, can try and keep some of the, I suppose some of the feelings of just not always being on full speed with me. I hope I don't leave it in the lockdown and I keep it with me. And then for society, there's been this feeling, well, it was more so at the start of the lockdown where it's like the world came together. It's like if aliens invaded the planet and we were all together as one for a little moment in time against this virus or against this other. And now with everything happening in America and all that, it didn't last for very long. But there was this like feeling just at the start of the lockdown when like fear was at its highest, that we were all together. and that there was this like feeling of people sort of looking after each other, and there being a common feeling between people, that just that humanity, that feeling of you know, you're not so different to me, and you wake up wanting the same things as I do. You know, you want to be healthy and you don't want to get the COVID-19 virus. So it felt like people were with each other, and I just hope people can continue that. Maybe, I know everything that has happened, I suppose, in America, all the protests and everything, it feels like it didn't really last for too long, but who knows, like with everything that's going on, maybe things will, there will be some sort of light at the end of the tunnel after it all, really.
I love it, yeah. And the community was unbelievable. I remember cycling around Wicklow town, like, and like you'd literally like be cycling along and you just had an involuntary instinct to wave at whoever was like walking by, and like not a bother, they'd be waving, there'd be hellos everywhere. It was just this, like, as you say, kind of an awakening in what just the simple kind of connection that maybe just got lost somewhere along the line a little. Class. What apprehensions would you have around us as we move closer to this new normal?
I suppose things that I'd be anxious about would be things that I'd be sort of apprehensive about. I was originally there a couple of weeks ago very nervous about going back into, it was before I had gone down to see my family and before things had sort of started to get back to normal a little bit. You know, I went to a cafe the other day for a coffee and stuff, but before all of that I was really anxious about life going back to normal. I just thought, Jesus, like, I don't know if I'm going to be ready for this. Almost like that the silence had been sort of blissful compared to the chaos sometimes of just the sort of everything open and just things, people that feeling of, do you know, when you're around Christmas and you know you're going in to buy like a slice pan or something and people are just like nuts. there's like this extra sense of like chaos around Christmas, but I think I was nervous about that again. I was just nervous about how crazy people can get sometimes, and then to be in the middle of it all. So yeah, that's one thing I'm nervous about. I'm still sort of nervous about that now, I suppose. I just don't know how I'm going to take it. Like, is it sensory overload?
Questions is, I don't know that I have an answer, like, to how to make that easier. Let's say, like, because I know at the weekend I'm, you know, meeting a bunch of buddies, and again, it's just like a bigger group, let's say, and it's like, okay, just to be comfortable with that, because it's kind of in small groups and simple. And, you know, other than just to mind myself in each scenario where I have to kind of go to the next step, let's say, and just to be gentle on myself. What about you? Like, as you kind of do the different things that will get it closer and closer to normal, what do you think will help you?
I think it will be to try and, in the build up to it, whatever that may be, in the build up to, say meeting a bunch of friends, to try and not think about it too much, because generally when you get there you're always just going to love it, especially if you're meeting good people, you know. But I suppose it's more, a big part of it for me anyways is not to overthink what's going to be coming, even with this interview actually, because this is the first interview I've done in a really long time. So I was like thinking to myself, you know, I was starting to get that thought sort of like running different conversations in my head, you know, when you're almost rehearsing something. But then I was just like, look, I just need to stop thinking about it and try and stop worrying about it and just come back to now. And then now that I'm here with you, you're a lovely chap.
Hey, thank you very much, Aimie. You're as sound as I remember you in Grand Social. It's an absolute pleasure, like, which is so true though. Like, just to go with the flow, right? Is that kind of like
yeah, go with the flow.
Happy days. Well, Aimie Mallon, look, we've gone with the flow here, and it's been, like, I suppose it's been an absolute pleasure. You're an inspiration on stage, and I think you've given us a lot of inspiration in terms of how we can kind of just go step by step and go easy in terms of where we are now and moving into new normal. And it's been really cool to hear what you've kind of explored with to help you with that journey in the last few months. So I suppose for all the specifically Laboom fans, maybe I should ask, what should we look out for and keep our fingers crossed for over the next little while?
Well, I suppose for us, we're going to be on the down low, and myself and Christy are going to be meeting up now in August to start working on the new live show. Okay. Which is very exciting because we haven't played together in a long time now with the lockdown. So I'd say for the Boom fans is to expect the unexpected, because we don't know when we're going to be back. So neither will anybody else. So yeah, but when we do come back, I think we're going to come back full of beans and yeah, better than ever, hopefully now. So Class. It should be good fun.
Class. Well, you've already set a high bar, like from October and before. So looking forward to that. Aimie Mallon of Laboom, thank you so much. Continued success personally and with the band. And Thanks. It's been a real pleasure chatting to you. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And fair play to everything you're doing at the moment. It is great, having people like yourself promoting sort of motivation for people and just general well-being. It's great. Thanks very much for having me. I feel very privileged because there's plenty of good people out there, I'm sure, that is on the list. So thanks.
My pleasure. Super. And thank you everyone for joining. Hope, look, I suppose the purpose of this was to have good conversations about new normal, hopes, concerns, and the experience to date. And so if you feel that having a conversation with someone else would be helpful, please do. Or if you feel you could help someone else by having a conversation with them, please do that too. The more we chat about it, the more we realize, we're all in this together. So super. Thank you, folks. Hopefully see you next week. Thank you, Aimie.
Thanks very much.